Come on in, guys. This is an actual German V2 rocket engine. We are super fortunate to have this. There's only about 5 in the world in existence. I took a trip to Vienna Monday, and they have a museum over there, and even there they don't have one of these. Anyway, I'm sure you recognize the fact this thing is upside down. So here's a model of the V2 rocket. Visualize this thing turned over, and here's the instrument part from there on down. Now the Germans had a severe problem with temperature. The temperature inside that thrust chamber was hot enough to melt steel. So how did they solve that problem? They used a technique which we use even today in our liquid rockets. Remember the rocket contained alcohol? The pipe of alcohol in this pipe down to the skirt. Sorry about the interruption. I was talking about Michael. Can you guys hear me okay? So they circulated the alcohol to the skirt, or circulated, cooling it, and then cooled the thrust chamber before being injected into the burn. Now, the alcohol the Germans used was unique. It was ethanol. What makes it unique? That's the only alcohol we drink. It's in beer, wine, and whiskey. During the war, the Germans at Vienna Monday technicians were stealing it to drink. Well, management decided, well, they dyed it pink to make them think it was poison. They soon found out it was not poison. They kept stealing it. So then they did something drastic. They put a laxative in it. And they lost their services for about 2 weeks, but then they kept away from it. Okay, guys, remember test conductors here. Remember that second switch on the console? Started the turbine. Here's the turbine. Now that didn't run on rocket fuel. Incidentally, the next time you have a beer, wine, whiskey, you're drinking rocket fuel. That ran on steam. Where did the steam come from? The combination of 2 chemicals which are hypergolic. You know what that means? Sodium permanganate and hydrogen peroxide. Put those guys together, you immediately get superheated steam. This thing that looks like a big football. That contains a hydrogen peroxide. Sodium permanganate is in this chamber combined here. And look at this pipe wrapped with asbestos carrying hot steam to that ring, and it's injected into the turbine. That's what ran the pump. Now you've all seen on television a rocket lifting off a launch pad, stopping, backing down, exploding. Chances are they lost their turbine. Because if you lose that, it's like taking your foot off the gas pedal. You know, when we captured Von Braun, we asked him, where'd you get your ideas? How did you develop this thing for Hitler? His answer, don't ask me, ask your own Dr. Goddard. Now he gave our Dr. Goddard full credit for his development of this V2 rocket. Now Goddard was an American who lived in Massachusetts. He was a professor of physics. And he did early experiments back in the 1920s with liquid rockets. He developed the world's first successful liquid rocket. And we are fortunate to have a replica of the world's first successful liquid right over here. Want to come over here? It's a funny looking thing. We wonder, does it even look like a rocket? How does that silly thing work? Notice the thrust chamber is way up on top and the tanks are down below. Dr. Goddard used liquid oxygen and gasoline. And this is back in 1926. Anyway, those 2 fluids are not hypergolic. There's that word again. He had a very sophisticated ignition system. He had a blowtorch on the end of a long pole. And he got his fastest runner to hold that blowtorch up to the thrust chamber. And when that lit off, he would take off and run top speed the other way. These things were dangerous. They had a habit of exploding. The day finally came that Dr. Goddard was sure that this was going to work. He was so sure, he had his wife stand off about 20 feet with a small handheld wind-up movie camera. And he told his wife, as soon as that light's off, start taking pictures, which she did. It sat for a full 20 seconds It didn't get very far, but it was the world's first in 1926. Now that was the same year he wrote a little booklet. Had a funny title to it. It was called Methods of Attaining Extreme Altitudes. In that booklet, he talked about using rockets to someday go to the planet and go to the moon. The New York Times published this little booklet. And at the same time, wrote an editorial saying that Dr. Goddard is a crackpot. He does not know what he's talking about. Because every school child knows rockets cannot work in the vacuum of space because they need air to push on. Is that how rockets work? No. You guys remember your high school physics? Newton's third law of motion? Anybody? Third law?
Every action is law.
You got it. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Key word here is reaction. If you fire a rifle, the bullet goes that way, the gun reacts, it goes the opposite way. Hits your shoulder. That's what makes a rocket go. It's reacting to the exhaust gases, like millions of little bullets coming out of the rocket, pushing it in the other direction. Would you believe that was in 1926? It took the New York Times all the way to 1969 before they finally wrote an editorial apologizing to Dr. Goddard. Okay, guys, let me show you what brought me to Cape Canaveral in 1952. Here, take a look up on this wall. This is my missile that I worked on, called the Snark. That was designed right after World War II to do one thing: fly 6,000 miles and drop an atomic bomb on Moscow. Now, why do we want to do that? You guys remember, I keep thinking some of you were around during World War II. But anyway, you might have studied this or learned about it. When the war ended, the Soviets were very aggressive towards Americans. And remember the Berlin blockade, where they wouldn't allow us to go into Berlin on the road? We had to fly over it with the flights bringing food to Berlin. We almost went to war with the Soviets, and they were our allies. We had to have some way to hit them with an atomic bomb if we had to. Our B-29 bomber could do it, but they couldn't return. So the government went to Northrop, asked him to design a cruise missile that could do that job. And if you take a look, that's the Snark up there. It looks just like an airplane, and that's what it was. An airplane without a pilot, designed to fly the 6,000 miles and hit that target. We tested the guidance system in baby steps. We'd fly our Snark down to Grand Bahama Island. That's about 100 miles offshore. And to save the government money, we would override the guidance system, turn it around, and fly it back to the Cape and land it and reuse it. And here's a picture. This is what it looked like. This is our chase plane bringing back our Snark to the Cape to land. Did your person on the bus, did he tell you about the skid strip?
Yeah.
Okay, the skid strip is where it landed. Why did they call it the skid strip? Because the Snark had skids. And that skid strip was designed for the Snark. We watched them make that thing. And we decided, when they got that done, this is back in 1953, we decided, when they're finished with that, let's drag race on it. I had a 51 Cadillac at that time. That was the year the Cadillac dropped their flathead V8 engines and went to overhead valves. Well, I didn't drag race, but I got it on the skid strip to see how fast it would go. And I got it up over 100 miles an hour, but it started shaking so bad I had to back off. But one of our chase pilots came from California with a brand new Porsche. And our chief test conductor had just bought an Oldsmobile Rocket 88. And they challenged each other to a drag race on the skid strip. Porsche and an Oldsmobile. So who won the drag race? The Oldsmobile, right. But the Porsche beat it in top speed. Okay, guys. Oh, I was just wanting to tell you about one of our flights. Our Snark, we would go a little bit further. We'd go from Grand Bahama, then to Eleuthera, San Salvador, Puerto Rico, eventually Ascension Island off the coast of South Africa. That was our goal, 6,000 miles away. It took us from 1952 to 59. We finally hit our target, and just as we did, it became obsolete. because at that time our ballistic missiles came online. And instead of taking 10 hours to get to Moscow, we can do it now in 30 minutes with our ballistic missiles. And on one of our flights, we flew it down to Puerto Rico, went to override the guidance system to bring it back and land it, and it ignored us. It kept on flying. We didn't know what to do. It was out of control. We contacted Ramey Air Base at Puerto Rico and told them, scramble your fighter planes and shoot it down, because it was out of control. Well, they did, but they couldn't catch it. Because that thing flew above 50,000 feet, just below Mach 1. It disappeared over the horizon. That's the last we saw, but for 25 years we found it in the jungles of Brazil. I think they're still worshiping it. Okay, guys, follow me on the next one. Okay guys, take a look. This is a Gemini capsule. This actually flew into orbit twice, and we recovered it twice. And if you look at the heat shield in the back here, you can see the burn marks where it re-entered the atmosphere. Now this is a two-man capsule. One of the men would sit here, and one would be on the other side there. Now if you look in there, you'll wonder, where did he sit? There's no room. What you're looking at are brackets that held instrumentation. No men flew in this particular capsule. This is a dynamic model. We wanted to make sure it worked okay before we put men in there. So there was instrumentation. Visualize all that stuff pulled out. This is where the guy would sit, and then one on the other side. Now, you guys remember how our space program was set up? A Mercury program, the one-man capsule. The Apollo, the Gemini, two-man capsule. Apollo, three-man capsule. During the Mercury program, President Kennedy said, we're going to the moon. Well, the moon is a three-man capsule. So why bother with this two-man capsule? A number of reasons, but one of the main reasons was to give the astronauts practice in docking with another vehicle in orbit. Now, they had to know how to do that if they wanted to come back home from the moon. Because remember how we got to the moon? The lunar lander was attached to the command module. They both went into orbit around the moon. When it came time to explore the surface, the lander separated, went down to the surface while the command module stayed in orbit. Now, when these guys wanted to come home, they had to blast off the surface and catch the command module and dock with it. Well, the moon is no place to practice docking. So Gemini, what did it dock with? It docked with a Lockheed Agena. And remember when my Snark became obsolete? I went with Lockheed and worked on the Agena. So that was called the target vehicle for the Gemini program. Here's what that looked like. Here's our Gemini capsules in orbit. And this is the Agena rocket that it docked with. There was an adapter ring on the nose of the Agena where the nose of the Gemini capsule would fit and then would dock. I want to tell you about one of our flights where we almost lost, both astronauts almost died in orbit. That was Neil Armstrong and David Scott. Armstrong was flying the capsule when he approached the Agena and docked with it, did a good job of docking. But as soon as he did, the whole mass started slowly rotating. Armstrong told Houston, I've got a problem, I'm going to undock, which he did. As soon as he undocked, his capsule started accelerating and rolling. Faster, faster, faster. Over 1 revolution a second. So here these guys were in orbit, totally out of control. They could have died up there. Armstrong had to do 2 things. Number 1, find out what's wrong. And number 2, correct it. He found out one of his thrusters on his capsule was stuck open. He was able to shut that down, fire the opposite thruster, slow the rotation, stabilize it so they could re-enter the atmosphere. Wow. And in fact, he saved their lives. Wow. Now, what I'm about to tell you may or may not be true. I was told He was so cool in doing that. They chose him to be the first man on the moon. Now, whether that's true or not, it's a good thing they did choose him, because remember our first landing on the moon? Here's Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin in the lander approaching the surface. Both onboard computers became overloaded and useless. He was trying to set it down, he couldn't. He was over a boulder field, and he was running out of fuel. He finally found a spot, and he set it down. And remember what he said: Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed, just like he did it every day. Real cool guy. You know, later on he was interviewed on television, and the interviewer said, "Neil, what were you thinking, trying to land on the moon and running out of fuel?" Neil's answer: "Well, everyone knows when the gas gauge reads 0, you always have 1 or 2 more gallons." Cool guy. Okay, let me direct your attention to this side of the room. I'm going to get over here. These are all the rockets that we launched with the kit. I wish we had more time, but our time is so limited. Anyway, these are what we launched with the Cape. Take a look at this combination here. There's an Atlas rocket with a Gemini on top. That's my little Gemini. And back in the 60s, that was the workhorse for America. That combination put almost all of America's satellites into orbit. And with that combination, we went to Venus and to Mars, and we also hit the moon long before Neil Armstrong did. And those of us who worked on the program, they engraved our names on a little plaque and they stuck it on the payload. So, next time you're up there. Okay guys, before I turn you loose to go to the gift shop and all that, I have one request, if you don't mind. You all have computers and you know something about the internet. There's this thing on the internet called TripAdvisor, and where you can go on there and tell them where you've been and whether or not you liked it, or if you didn't like it. If you didn't like it, then don't bother. But anyway, if you would like to do that, I have some cards here that has the name of our museum on it. So I want to thank you all for your attention and enjoy the rest of your tour.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you.